Driving into the late Charles Oboth-Ofumbi's farm, one senses the triumph of the human spirit over adversity. The 3,000-acre farm is in Nyamalogo village, Siwa sub-county in Tororo district. Oboth-Ofumbi, who was Minister of Internal Affairs, was murdered on February 16, 1977, together with his close friends, Archbishop Janani Luwum and Lieutenant Colonel Erinayo Oryema, the Minister of Lands, Housing and Physical Planning. The 10-bedroom house Oboth-Ofumbi had been constructing is still standing, incomplete, most of the property looted, and what is left in a state of disrepair. But there are memories in this home. From the late 1960s and 70s, the minister presided over life here. Now Godfrey Oboth-Ofumbi, his son, lives here with a few workers. For a long time, after his father's death, he lived in Nairobi, Kenya, and then later Los Angeles in the US. After years in the civil service, in 1971, Oboth-Ofumbi was appointed Minister of Defense. By 1973, he had been transferred to the Internal Affairs docket. It was a time when the academia, intellectuals, and elites fled into exile, but Oboth-Ofumbi remained.
He would always complain and say, you know, all my friends are telling me, run away, they're telling me, come on, he's going to kill you too, he'll do this and that, but I won't run, I'll stay. If he kills me, he kills me. He just said, no, I'll just believe in God. If that's how it's meant to be, then it's God's will.
President Idi Amin and Oboth-Ofumbi had been close friends since the mid-1960s, when Amin was a colonel in the Uganda Army and Oboth-Ofumbi was Secretary of Defense.
I do remember the first time I ever saw Amin, personally, was when he came to the house in Nakasero. He wasn't even president, he was the army commander at the time, yeah. Big guy, I remember his big hands and so on. Jolly, he was very jolly towards children. Even when he came here, he was very jolly, because he came here 4 times and he slept here. Not in this house, but the old house, which used to be in the same location.
However, Godfrey Oboth-Ofumbi says his father did not rejoice when Amin captured power in 1971.
So the stick was just here somewhere.
But such was the friendship they shared that when Amin went on a state visit to Mogadishu in 1972, he left Oboth-Ofumbi in charge of the country as head of state for 9 days from 10th to 18th July 1972. Godfrey remembers his father as a hardworking man and strict father. Oboth-Ofumbi was also very prayerful. Next to his house is a church he built in memory of his father, an evangelist.
Every day in the evening there would be songs and singing. Even us being kids, like I told you, it would become annoying. We want to play, we want to watch TV, Daktari, Yogi Bear and so on, and here we are being told to pray.
By January 1977, rumors of a coup plot had gained ground in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania and Kampala. Oboth-Ofumbi had a premonition about his coming death and spoke to his children. Godfrey was 12 when he last saw his father.
He took us to the airport in the evening. We were flying, and that time I just left St. Andrew's Turi, and I was just starting my first term in St. Mary's. And he walked us to the plane, down onto the tarmac, I remember. And then I remember turning around as I was walking up and watched him walk with his entourage out of my line of sight. That was the last time I ever saw him.
On February 16, 1977, Oboth-Ofumbi, Luwum and Oryema were arrested for being part of a coup plot. Godfrey, his siblings and their mother, Elizabeth, were at their residence in Westlands, Nairobi.
That evening, because my mom was there, she called Kampala to speak to one of my uncles, her cousin, who was also staying at the house in Kampala. And then I remember she just collapsed and started crying.
Mrs. Oboth-Ofumbi, who had given birth 2 weeks prior, drove back to Uganda with her bodyguard.
So when my mother reached there, the border, it was about 5 hours. Well, just a wrangle with the Kenyan authorities. They said that they would receive a call from the Vice President's office not to let you go through back to Uganda because they're dead and so on. Your husband is dead and you could be killed and so on.
On February 17, 1977, an accident scene was staged on Ternan Avenue in Nakasero. Now, reports from the scene indicated that while the Archbishop and the two ministers had died in the accident, their driver, Sergeant Moses Okello, had survived with grievous injuries. Godfrey had the news of his father's death on the BBC.
I had gone to school, got back home for lunch, and then Michael was listening to BBC. Then he said, Dad is dead. It was just...
When Mrs. Oboth-Ofumbi finally made it home, she found her husband's body had been brought by soldiers from the Presidential Protection Unit.
When they opened the coffin, he was in this kind of position, his hands, like as though he was defending himself from being that. And there was wounds on the side of the face, and then there was stab wounds on the neck and here, and there were 33 bullet holes. This arm was broken so badly that the bone was sticking out of the flesh. It was actually sticking out of the flesh. And one of the legs also was broken.
For years, Godfrey wondered why President Amin had killed his father, who was supposed to be his closest friend.
Why would Uncle Amin do this? Why?
I don't know how to say it. How do you say sorry? At the tragic end of this.
Yeah. Jaffa, you know one thing?
I can't even say sorry on behalf of my father.
I know.
Later, he got to know about the coup plot and his father's supposed involvement in the plot.
If it was once, I'll either come back as president or dead. That's what he told them. There was a coup attempt. And that's what it is. Amin found out and he reacted the way that Amin knows how to react.
Mrs. Oboth-Ofumbi remained in this home, supporting her children, using proceeds from the vast farm and a jaggery factory Oboth-Ofumbi had built. The family also had income from rental properties in Kampala, Nairobi, and Switzerland.
But that was it.
Between 1976 to 1977, the State Research Bureau foiled 11 coup attempts against President Amin, including one on June 18, 1977, where the plotters, who were mainly soldiers, attempted to assassinate Amin at Abaita Ababiri on Entebbe Road after a cabinet meeting. They almost succeeded. GILLIAN NANTUME, NTV Tonight.
The Labradors come with black